So we have a very exciting program coming up in the fall. We have our fall 2-year conservatory and our 2-year part-time program. Both of those are taught by the illustrious Celestine Rae. She will be teaching this class in the evenings and weekends. Is it Tuesday night and Saturday? Is that right, Celestine? I should have this pulled up.
Yep, Tuesday night and Saturday morning.
Tuesday night, Saturday morning. So Saturday, like early afternoon, I think. So if you are not enrolled yet, today you will learn a little bit more about that. We also have a fall intensive, which is not taught by Celestine, taught by Malika. But if you are here for that, it is the same exact program, but it stops at class 18. So the difference between the 2-year program and slash part-time and the intensive is just the length of time. It's the same work. You're starting with repetition, building into activities, ending with the first Meisner scene. And the goal of this work is to make you the best actor you can be, more truthful, more grounded, more moment to moment. So we're going to get to see a little bit of what that looks like today from some incredible alumni. So the Fall Conservatory will begin September 22nd, and Fall Intensive will begin October 12th. And this is a great opportunity for actors to build a technique for themselves and for more experienced actors to get back in the gym and ground themselves in the Meisner technique. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask my alumni and faculty to introduce themselves. If you could give us your name, pronouns, and a little background around your relationship to the studio, and then we'll go from there. So, Celestine, I'll pass it to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Celestine Rae. I teach the 2-year conservatory program, as Marina just said. And I have been teaching at the studio. I believe I'm going into my 5th year since 2021. I just had my fourth graduating class at the studio. I trained with Terry Knickerbocker when I was training as an actor in the Meisner 2-year conservatory program. So I did the program with him, and a few years later, I followed him to his studio and I shadowed him for 3.5 years. And now I'm teaching at his studio now. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to meet all of you and to share a little bit of what we do here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Celestine. And now I'm going to pass the spotlight to Terrence and Quentin, who are going to introduce themselves, talk about their relationship to the studio and Celestine, and then I'll have some more exciting questions for you all.
Hi, everybody. I'm Quentin. I use he, him pronouns, and I was a part of Celestine's 2-year conservatory that finished in 2025. So not this past class, but the one prior to it with my lovely friend Terrence.
Hi, Terrence Dearman, he, him pronouns. I actually took the intensive, oh man, this was a while ago, like maybe 2022 or 2023, I think. I did that with Anya, and then, yeah, I graduated with Quentin after the 2-year program with Celestine.
Yeah, so they both took two different, thank you guys. They both took two different paths. Oh, I've spotlit you and now I can't figure it out. There we go. They both took two different paths. Terrence started with the intensive, the 6 to 9 week intensive, and then went into the 2-year program. And Quentin, you just started with the 2-year, right?
I actually forgot to mention, I also started with the intensive. I did the
Right.
intensive with Celestine, and
Ah,
then
okay.
and then I did the full 2-year right
Yeah.
afterwards, actually.
Yeah, so that is a path a lot of students take. If you already know that you want to do this work, not that you guys didn't know that at the time, but I think it's a big commitment, 2 years, and starting with an intensive can sometimes feel like a easy way into it. But a lot of people also will dive right into the 2-year work, and both are very valuable. And if you are curious about either of those paths, that's something we can talk about at the end of this or one off. But I'd love to hear from you, Celestine, a little bit more about what this training is, what students can get from the training, and then I have another question, but we'll start with that.
Okay, what can students get from the training? That's a big question. If I'm talking specifically about the technique, what I love about the technique is that it's process oriented and that it's foundational. So, every art form and really every practice starts with some kind of foundation, some kind of technique. And it's only acting where a lot of times people think that they can just instinctively do it. And we forget that there is a craft, there is a process, there are different exercises that we need to do to be able to be the best actor that we can be. And so the Meisner technique and what you get out of this program is an ability to learn a craft, to learn a process for working, to be able to repeat that process. Oftentimes actors will say, man, I had this role and I had this moment in when I was on stage or when I was on set, and I came to life in a way that I've never come to life. I've never done that before, but I don't know how to do it again. I don't know what I did that allowed me to go there. And so, what the Meisner technique does is it allows you an awareness and an understanding and a practice so that you can recreate that emotional circumstance. The other thing about what we do in this program is that we focus on you as an artist. There's a lot of work out there where, or a lot of classes where you can go in and you can do a two-page scene or you get some sides and you're working in a very particular way, and that's very useful, except that it's not teaching you who you are as an artist. And so what we do here is we really try to nurture the artist in every single actor that comes through the studio. We try to help you get in touch with what gets you going, what makes you feel joyful or sad or happy or excited or jealous or outraged. And we really work all of these personal resources inside of ourselves, and we create a process for working so that when we get to character work, you have a lot of gas in the tank. And so I think that what we do here is we really focus on building you a strong foundation so that when you go out into the industry and you're auditioning, you can come back to everything that you've learned and be able to apply it. In addition, I mean, I think, Marina, you're probably going to speak to this, but I'm going to speak to it now. I
Please.
think what we offer here is also a community. And I think that sometimes we can forget that acting really is heavily dependent on being in community with other artists. And everything that we do is in relationship to someone else. And this technique often focuses on putting your attention outside of yourself, putting your attention on the other person. What is it like to be a part of an ensemble, right? Because if you're working in theater, you're always part of an ensemble and people are depending on you to show up. If you're working in a film, people are depending on you to show up. How do you bring your full self to the work and work off of the other people in the space with you? And so collaboration is a big part of what you're also learning, and you're also learning rigor. What does it mean to keep showing up and to keep trying something and keep allowing yourself to fail and to feel a little foolish at times and dusting yourself off and trying again? We really try to nurture every artist on their journey. So that's a little bit about what we offer in terms of the technique and the training, but also what we offer. I think, Marina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as a studio.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I also here I'll add myself so you're not all alone there. Hello. I think, what you said about community and acting being so much about being in community, it's also simultaneously so lonely. Like you spend so much time. I mean, I'm not an actor, my partner is, and I have many, I work here, so I see it, but like so much time just hauled up in your basement recording self-tapes like alone. And to be in class, I think, whenever people come to us and they're like, "Hey, I want a coach, like give me a coach." We always say class is the first step. Like you shouldn't be coaching unless you're working on a specific audition or a specific role. Like if you just want to get better, being in class is the place to be, like being in this community. So thank you for that, Celestine. I totally agree. And I'd love to hear Terrence and Quentin as members of said community. I'll just add us all. Stop being weird and just make us in a little foursome here. Talk to us about your experience at the studio with the community, with the training. You've now been a year and a half, a year and change out of it. So I'd love to just hear some reflections about the work and about being part of TKS.
Yeah. Terrence, you want me to start or do you want to start?
It's you, Quentin.
Okay, I'll go for it. I think it's so amazing because I haven't seen Celestine for a long time now, but it's so funny because I feel like I've seen her recently because the lessons that I feel like I've learned through that time that I had in the 2 year program and the intensive really lives on. So I feel connected to Celestine, even though I haven't seen her in a long time. But I really think that what was so special for me about the intensive and the 2 year program is that it really felt so much, and you spoke to this, Celestine, about like expanding who I am as a person. And I think that it was, yes, about becoming a better actor, but also just like a better listener and being able to like direct myself to be conscious of the present moment and to put my attention outside of myself. Like that, I think, is stuff that is so fundamental in my acting, 100%, but also incredibly fundamental in just the way that I feel like I go about my life now, which is, I think, so profound and meaningful and something that I was not anticipating being a byproduct of the program. But yeah, yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently.
Thank you, Quentin.
For me, it's how do I say this? Like it felt like life changing for me. So like to echo what Quinn is saying is these moments, at least from my personal experience, being a black man in today's society, feeling like I can't express myself the way I want to, doing the 2 year program with Celestine, patiently being there and like guiding me through all these moments of like blocks that I would just put on myself and coming through the other side, being able to express every aspect of myself wholeheartedly was it and is still everything for me because that means that I can take up space not just in acting, but I can take up space in life and I can walk through life being myself and not feeling shame in doing that. It's everything as an artist and as a person. And oh man, just to talk about like the artistic part of it, being able to explore all these things that I was afraid to explore, like personally in the art, just unlocks so much more like expression for me. Just like, oh, if I can do this, then I can do this, or seeing someone else take risks in class and say, oh, wow, that person did this. I wonder, can I do something like that too? Or if they can do it, why can't I do that? What's making me say, no, that's not for me? Just asking myself personal questions to like self-evaluate and and sometimes bother Celestine with like these personal questions as well, just to see like a different point of view on how I see things and like in a society point of view and an artistic one as well.
Hmm.
Like it's great. And also the community is cool too, because like there's people that I connected with that to this day I still feel like, oh yeah, you're my brother, you're my sister type thing.
Mhm.
And we'll always have somebody to work with, work off of, and hold each other accountable like on our journey. And like that's that's meaningful too.
Thank you, Terrence. Yeah, and I love what you said about being in class and seeing other work. I think that's another
Mhm.
really valuable reason to be in class. Like, especially, I get probably like 2 to 3 inquiries a week of people who just want to coach. They're just like, can you just give me a coach that I work with weekly? And so much of the work is seeing other work and being inspired by that and being challenged by that in your own work and how you do things. And like, I love sitting in class and seeing students write notes on the feedback that other students are getting. And there's just so much value in that space. And like one thing that I really try to cultivate is a room full of very serious, passionate artists. Like this isn't a program you could just sign up for online intentionally because we want to have the right people in the room. And I mean, Celestine and I were recently talking at a student, like, is this the right fit? And figuring out like what is the right fit for them. And I think that is part of what makes this a unique program. Like there are a lot of studios you can go online, pay $500 and sign up for a 6 week class and show up and you're and then probably never see those people again. But I think there's something about this being a really intentional space for passionate actors committed to excellence. That's our mantra. Mantra is not the right word, but it's on all the walls. And I think it really is a community of passionate actors. Like Terrence and Quentin aren't being paid to be here. I asked and they were very excited to be asked by Celestine to do this. So I think that says something about the community. And then my last question for Terrence and Quentin is, I mean, you kind of already spoke to this, but a lot of these people are here and curious about specifically working with Celestine, and maybe if there's like a moment you could share about, I was going to ask you like if you could talk about your work with her, but I feel like you already did. So if there's like a moment you can share that was profound to you with her work, or just like what, to Quentin, you said you like think about the things that you've done with her a lot, like anything that you could share to these people who are maybe like nervous about a new teacher that they haven't met and hearing insight from folks who already did the work with her about her work. Celestine, if you want, I'll take you off the spotlight so we don't have to all stare at your reaction to this. It's a thoughtful question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you ask it again really quick?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a little bit all over the place. I mean, you could also just talk about like what, oh, am I, oh, Angela got locked out. She's back. If you could talk about like your work with Celestine in a little bit deeper, I think like, you know, sh- I think like to be transparent, a lot of people want to work with Terry because his name's on the door. And like
Uh-huh.
Celestine is an incredible teacher and there's so much value from her. And I think it's really exciting to have alumni in the room who can speak to the work they did with her. So whether it's like a moment or just like what it was like working with her, like to students who might be considering being in her class, anything you could share about your work with Celestine.
I got 2 moments and I'll be as brief as I can.
Okay.
Um, so I've had a moment before where I was working with another teacher and I was like, I had this idea that I wanted to do. And they told me not to because the quotation was, it eats at your soul. And for me, I couldn't take that as an answer because I have to find a way to go to work through this artistically and find a way to like go as deep as I can and come out of it. And I did that in class with Celestine. And Celestine held so much room for me to explore that in myself. And it was like a very vulnerable moment for me. And there was no judgment. Like I didn't feel any judgment against her. Like if anything, it was just this idea of like this, I'm gonna say like guardian angel that's watching me do this extremely vulnerable thing and is keeping me safe the whole time and making me feel like I'm not only worthy of doing this work, but also that like no harm will come from me like coming out of this too. And that stayed with me. Um, the other thing was I had a really like hard issue of like trying to figure stuff out all the time. So I would always like if I'm asking questions, everything that Celestine would say, I'm trying to use it as like, okay, well, how do I use that to fix this thing that I'm working on, you know? And what she ended up saying to me, I had this talk with her. What she ended up saying to me was like, this here. It's like when we had like a personal conversation. She's like, this connection right here, this is meaningful. Like this is what informs the work. Having a real genuine connection with another human being, not trying to fix a problem, but just actually just connecting. And then that in turn will help with the artistry. And that conversation has stuck with me for like the past like year and a half. And it's something that I also tell others. It's like once you live and actually like want a genuine connection, all the other stuff will fall into place.
Hmm. Thank you, Terrence.
Yeah.
Awesome. Quentin, anything to share about your work with Celestine a year and 3 months out?
yes. Yeah, I think that something that it was one of the most like magical moments of working with Celestine of many that sort of drew me in during the intensive. But I remember a specific moment where I was in repetition, and it's so funny because I think that coming into the program, I, both in my life and in my acting work, was not always super willing to stand my ground in my point of view. And I remember so distinctly there was a very specific repetition where Celestine could tell that I had a very strong point of view about the thing, and she asked me to just share it in the repetition. And it was this sort of amazing thing that then I was able to like say it, and it was impulsive, and it just was true, and it was my point of view. And it was this amazing thing that I feel like I saw happen so much in class, which was that like Celestine is doing the Meisner work with us, like putting her attention onto the students as they're working. So she's picking up on all of the behavior, and it feels like sometimes like mind reading almost, because she'll see something in the person's behavior and it's like, oh, that's what's going on. And it's so freeing, I think, to be given permission and to sort of be encouraged to share that point of view and share whatever that feeling is. And that was so special. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Oh, I mean, I'm moved on Celestine's behalf, but also just hearing about the impact it had on you, even like, all this time out is really moving. And so I appreciate you sharing that. So speaking of repetition, before we get into that, Celestine, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, but is there anything you want to add about the work before we talk about what we're going to see in the repetition?
Well, I just want to say, Terrence and Quentin, thank you so much. I haven't heard you two share um, these things before, so it's nice to kind of listen and reflect on the work that we've done together. And I think um, it's very touching, and I think it speaks to the journey that each student goes on, and that I'm going on this journey with you all. So you end up holding this really special place in my heart because I remember where you started, and I know where you ended up, and I think that's the most fulfilling thing for me as a teacher is
Mhm.
seeing that transformation and seeing that evolution happen, and listening to you both talk about it now is really meaningful. So thank you for sharing that. It's nice for me to hear what's resonating. So I appreciate you both.
Thank you, Celestine. All right, so we're gonna get into some work, and then I hope you guys have some questions because after that, we're gonna take questions from the audience. You'll be able to drop them in the chat or share them out loud. But Celestine, can you tell us a little bit about? I'm gonna take myself out, not take myself out. I'm gonna remove my spotlight. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're gonna see and what role the repetition kind of plays without getting too deep into it in the Meisner work, the 128 classes?
Yes. So this exercise that we're going to explore is at the very, very, very beginning of the work. The Meisner work is a progression. So where we start is not where we end up. The work keeps building on itself.
Mhm.
But this is what we would call a seed of an exercise. It's this little acorn that we plant in the ground and we watch the mighty oak tree grow over the 2 year program. And Meisner himself was a classical pianist. So he thought to himself when he was coming up with this repetition exercise, what could be the equivalent of scales, something you would do on a piano for an actor, right? So he came up with this repetition exercise. So every class in the very beginning, I ask students, I say, what's the smallest unit of music? And they always say a note. What's the smallest unit of dance? A step. What's the smallest unit of acting? A moment. And so this repetition exercise allows us to work moment to moment. So we're not trying to do a full scene in the very beginning. We're literally going to work one moment at a time in this very granular, nuanced way. So the way that we're going to work today is we're going to start by now, normally, if we were in a studio space, I would have Quentin and Terrence turn towards each other, but we're in the Zoom screen and you two can see each other. So I would say I want you two to start by putting your attention on each other. And you're going to decide between the two of you who wants to begin. Who wants to lead? Terrence. Okay. So Terrence, I want you to lead. And I just want you to start in this particular exercise with something that you see concretely, concretely in Quentin. So you're probably not going to look at Quentin and say, you look like you had oatmeal for breakfast, because where would you be getting that from, right? Something
You're
that
right.
you actually see present with Quentin, something that you're picking up on from Quentin. I want you to start with that. And Quentin, I want you to repeat it. And I want you to just do a little bit of it. And I might come in and coach you towards some other steps like point of view and behavior. But if you're picking up on that instinctively, you can explore it. Yeah. Trust yourselves. But start with something that you see concretely.
You're wearing a gray sweatshirt.
I'm wearing a gray sweatshirt.
You're wearing a gray sweatshirt.
I'm wearing a gray sweatshirt.
You're wearing a gray sweatshirt.
You find that funny.
I find that funny.
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 You're not finding it so funny anymore.
I'm not finding it so funny anymore.
You're not finding it so funny anymore.
I'm not finding it so funny anymore.
You're not finding it so funny anymore.
No, I'm not finding it so funny anymore.
No, you're not finding it so funny anymore.
No, I'm not finding it so funny anymore.
No, you're not finding it so funny anymore.
No, I'm not finding it so funny anymore.
No, you're not finding it so funny anymore.
How are you finding it, Terrence?
It's just plain sweatshirt.
It's just a 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 plain sweatshirt.
You look upset.
I look upset.
You look upset.
I look upset.
You look upset.
I look upset.
You look upset.
I don't feel upset.
You don't feel upset.
I don't feel upset.
You don't feel upset.
I don't feel upset.
You don't feel upset.
I don't feel upset.
I'm relieved you don't feel upset.
You're relieved I don't feel upset.
I'm relieved that you don't feel upset.
You're relieved that I don't feel upset.
I'm relieved that you don't feel upset.
Well, that makes me happy.
It makes you happy.
That makes me happy.
It makes you happy.
That makes me happy.
It makes you happy.
That makes you happy.
It makes me happy, yes.
It makes you happy, yes.
It makes me happy, yes.
It makes you happy, yes.
It makes me happy, yes.
That's
It
a good.
makes you happy, yes.
There's a lot of good there, you two. There's a good place to stop. Um, Marina, can I come back in? Okay, there we go. So there's a lot of good here. You're working off of each other moment to moment, and you're also responding to the behavior, right? So we can see, right? We can see that Terrence started smiling in the beginning. Something about Terrence smiling made you say, you find that funny, right? And he kind of took it in, which was great. You used
Mhm.
repetition, Terrence, to keep taking it in.
Mhm.
I find that funny. I find that funny. I find that funny. And you picked up on that, Quentin, right? That something in him shifted behavior,
Mhm.
right? Because what we're working on is picking up on behavior. This is something that you were speaking to earlier, Quentin, right? That's what I'm doing with you all, but that's what I'm teaching you all to do with each other is to pick up
Mhm.
behavior, right? So you picked up on Terrence's behavior. You said, you don't find that so funny anymore. New moment, right?
Mhm.
And what a great moment for you to kind of be related to. It's just a plain sweatshirt, right? That's the truth. So this idea of really working truthfully in each moment, and we talk about it on the first class, right? The definition of acting, living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, which we eventually
Mhm.
began to say doing truthfully under imaginary circumstances. But this idea of being truthful moment to moment and always being truthful, which means sometimes the truth is not so socially polite.
Yeah.
Sometimes the truth is, you're pissing me off. Sometimes the truth is, I don't like the way you looked at me. Sometimes the truth is, you hurt my feelings, right? And so these are ways that we don't often engage in real life. But if we're going to act, we have to be related to what's the truth moment to moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time, Marina? Should we do
We
some?
Well, we're actually ahead of schedule. We have some options here, which Celestine, and this is a curveball. It's not in the run of show, but we do this sometimes in the in-person ones. So we can either kind of continue this exploration with Terrence and Quentin, or if there's anyone in the room who wants to give repetition a try, we can also take some volunteers who can either do it with either Terrence or Quentin or with another guest. Which one would you prefer, Celestine?
I'm up for either.
Okay. Is there anyone in the room you could put your camera back on who wants to give it a shot, who wants to be brave and try this exercise with Catherine? I saw you turn your camera on. Is that a volunteer? Yeah, all right. Catherine, anyone
Sure.
else? Yeah, and Catherine is gonna be in the studio with us in the fall, which is very exciting.
That's what's up.
Is anyone else feeling brave and wants to give it a try? No pressure, because I'm sure Terrence or Quentin will be happy to give it a shot.
Jason.
Jason, is that a volunteer?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, all right.
Oh,
So
Uh,
awesome. Jason also might be joining us, which would be very cool. I'm going to bring these guys in, and you haven't worked with Celestine before. If you want to just um, introduce yourselves, name, pronouns, where you're coming in from, where you're zooming in from.
okay. I'm Jason, he, him, coming in from Long Island, a little outside of Manhattan. Special education teacher, and really want to act. I love writing. I love performing, and yeah,
Love it.
Yeah.
From Long
Mhm.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. My name is Catherine or Kat. Both are welcome. I use she, they pronouns equally and interchangeably. Currently zooming in from Atlanta, Georgia, but by the time the program starts, I will be in New York. So, yeah.
Amazing. Beautiful. So Celestine,
Yeah. So let's set
anything.
up. So Terrence and Quentin kind of took a few steps forward in the work, but I want you to feel free to explore a little bit here. What's most important is that you really want to start with something concrete, what you see in the other person, and you want to repeat everything that you hear them say, or that you hear the other person say. So you might have seen with Quentin and Terrence, there was a moment where one of them said, "No, no, I don't find that, whatever, I can't remember, right?" But that no is also a part of it, right? So that we want to really be attuned to everything that the other person is saying and really make sure that we're repeating it moment to moment. Now, sometimes in an exercise, someone might say something and the tone of their voice might change, right? That's behavior. But that has information, right? If I say to you both, "You look lovely today," what are you getting from me? How do I feel?
That you believe it. Because
Believe
you're
it, kindness.
That I believe it? What else?
Hmm. Yeah. Kindness or sweetness.
Kindness. How do I, that you believe me, right?
Yeah.
Wow. If I say to you both, "You look great today," what
Well,
do you
you don't
think?
look so great. Yeah, I could tell.
I that seems insincere.
Yeah.
Right? Something about my energy, there's a little bit of an attitude, right?
Hmm.
A little bit of a
Yeah.
sarcasm. You're picking up on that, right? So we really
Hmm.
don't want to force anything. We don't want to try to make it something. We want to be authentically responding moment to moment. But you also want to be attuned to how is the person talking to me? What is their facial expression saying? What am I picking up on? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So between the two of you, who would like to start?
Can I say one quick thing before just that what comes up often when we do these open houses? There's no pressure to be entertaining. It's okay if it's boring. It's
Yeah.
more about what you're not doing this for an audience. You're doing this to grow in your own work. So don't worry if don't start if you start thinking like, oh no, I must be boring people. You can push that away.
The beginning of this work is not entertaining at all. It's an exploration, right? It's an
Like
opportunity
scales.
to see what am I getting from the other person? And so, as long as you're staying curious, that's the most important part of the exercise. It's not about a performance. So, thank you, Marina. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. All right, Celestine, I'll take you off the spotlight. Take it away, Celestine, if you want to keep going with them.
So, who wants to lead?
Um, I can go if you like.
Okay, great. So, Jason, I
All
want you
right.
with something that you see concretely in Catherine. Concretely meaning you're looking at her, you're seeing her. What do you see? You can name something that you see that Piques your interest.
Hmm. Looks like you're wearing a denim shirt.
I'm wearing a denim shirt.
You're wearing a denim shirt.
Denim.
I'm wearing a denim shirt.
Yeah. You're wearing a denim shirt.
I'm wearing a denim shirt.
Yeah. You
You're
like that, don't
smiling.
you? I am smiling.
You're smiling.
I am smiling.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling. You think this is funny.
I think this is funny.
You think this is funny.
I think this is funny.
You think this is funny.
I think this is funny.
Yeah, you think this is funny.
You're serious.
I'm serious.
You're serious.
I'm serious.
You're serious.
I'm serious.
You're serious.
I'm serious.
You're very serious.
I'm very serious. And you think that's funny.
I think that's funny.
You think that's funny.
I think that's funny.
You think that's funny.
I think that's funny.
You think it's so funny.
You think it's funny.
I think it's funny.
You think it's funny.
I do kind of think it's funny.
You do kind of think it's funny.
I do kind of think it's funny.
You do kind of think it's funny.
I do kind of think it's funny.
You do kind of think it's funny.
Yeah, I do kind of think it's funny.
Yeah, you do kind of think it's funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good place to stop. What did you two experience just now? How was that? That was, yeah, for your first shot, there was a lot of good there. You're picking up
Yeah.
on a lot of behavior.
Yeah, she was Catherine was very easy to work off of, so we just kind of like I don't know, just kind of flowed and kind of ran with it. So I just was picking up on her behavior and yeah.
Yeah, she's enjoying you a lot.
Hmm.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
love. How are you
Yeah.
feeling, Catherine? How did that go?
Good. Jason, you're, sometimes I can have trouble reading people's expressions, but you have
Mhm.
like a very, like a generosity of expression in your face. And so it was easy
Mhm.
to pick up on the differences and I could like
Yeah.
watch the journey. I was like, I'm not quite sure when to call a behavior change that I see.
Yeah.
So that was a little nerve making, but overall it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that's very normal, and we
Mm.
talk about that in class all the time. But I think what I saw is you two trusting the repetition itself and not trying to force a change, but just repeating. And so that's what we encourage is don't try to make something happen, but be attuned to what is happening between the two of you, as opposed to going, should I change it? Because usually when you're going, should I change it, you're in your head.
Mm.
And if you're in your head, that means your attention is not on your partner. So to get ourselves out of our head, easy trick, put your attention outside of yourself, which by the
Mm.
way is very useful in social settings. If you ever go to like, a party there where you don't know a lot of people or some kind of weird networking event. I hate networking events. They freak me out.
Yeah.
Or like that, right? I tell myself all the time is put your attention outside of me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Don't worry about how do I look? Do I seem weird? Do I sound weird? Do people like me? I stay curious. My attention is on the people in the room, and then all of a sudden that frees me up. Yeah.
I'm sorry. My son just needs his keys for 1 second. I'll be right there, okay? I'm so sorry. Give me
Thank
one
you,
second.
Jason. It's all right. I'm taking you
Right.
guys off the spotlight. Thank you both, Jason and Catherine, for your bravery. And that was an awesome first go at it. Sometimes when we have audience participants do the repetition, it doesn't always go as well, and it doesn't always go as well in class. Like so much of this work, and Celestine, and I mean, and Terrence and Quentin, I think you could all attest to this. Like sometimes it goes really badly, and that's part of it. Like failure and getting it wrong is such an exciting opportunity because that's where we grow. Like if your work was perfect and you had no flaws, which nobody has, by the way, like everybody has flaws, then you wouldn't need training, and you probably shouldn't be an actor because you're like a robot. There's this what's the AI actor's name that came out about a year ago. I don't even know. It's not worth my memory to remember her name, but its name. But I don't think that will ever really become a long-lasting thing because behavior comes from humans, and what's beautiful about humans is that they make mistakes and they fuck up and they are messy, and that messiness is so beautiful to live in and to explore. And I think we really welcome that here. Like it's not about being perfect. It's not about getting it right every time. It's about doing the thing and trying. And seeing what happens. I don't know, Celestine, if you want to add anything to that sentiment.
No, I mean, you said it beautifully. I think that's the beauty of class is that you get to have it's a sandbox. You get to come in, make stuff, make a mess, fail a lot. The permission to fail is something that is offered from day one, but it usually takes about half of the year, half of the first year to really embrace that it's okay to make mistakes because we are socialized to try to avoid mistakes at all costs.
Mm.
So this idea, even the word failure, right? Even when I say it to my students, I say embrace failure. But the word failure, if I'm being totally honest, my relationship to that word is not a positive one. And it's taken me a lot of time to have a new kind of way of relating to what it means to fail, right? To make mistakes, to make a mess, to be messy, right? We don't get that permission, but when you're in a room full of artists that are all making a mess and failing and throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, because that's a big part of the process too. It's like it's liberating. Go, oh my God, I don't have to be perfect. Oh my God, I
Mm.
don't have to always try to keep it together. I can make a mistake, and oftentimes the mistakes are where you learn the most. The mistake is going to be the thing oftentimes that leads you to the gold and to the magic of the craft. But if you're always holding back and going, I don't want to make a mistake, you don't get to the magic. So yes to everything you said, Marina.
Yeah, no, thank you, Celestine. And I think that's really what I find most valuable in a conservatory setting rather than an MFA where you go right into performing your first semester is like you better be ready to go when you come into this MFA. Like they want polished, they want, perfect. And we have a lot of people who after they, not a lot, but there's a handful of people who after they finish the conservatory, they want to go into an MFA to have the performing experience because you're not performing in this program. It's all about technique and training, and that's because we want you to have we want to give you permission to make mistakes and to fail a lot and learn from that. Whereas in an MFA, when you come in, like you really don't. There's not the room to fail because you're performing immediately. And I just think that's so valuable, and I love seeing students go on these journeys and be frustrated and like really question like why they do the things they do and their behavior and come out like changed most of the time. It's just a really cool thing that you don't even, necessarily realize as a byproduct, like it changes you, this work. And I've now gotten to see that over the past 4 years. That's crazy. And it's beautiful. But now, enough of me speaking. Thank you so much, Jason and Catherine and Terrence and Quentin and Celestine, for your wonderful work. We have 15 minutes exactly, and I'd love to take some questions from the audience, from folks who are here, including you, Catherine and Jason, even though you're now part of the working folks in this room. Is there anyone who has questions? You can either drop them in the chat or you can come off mute. You don't have to turn your camera on, but you are welcome to. I'd love to take questions from the audience for me, for Celestine, for Terrence, or for Quentin. Don't all jump at once.
A question for Celestine, if I can. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great to meet you, Celestine, again. Really lovely. Thank you. I'm a big fan of James Gandolfini, and he studied at Rutgers. He was a Meisner trained actor. I want to know, have you ever seen him work like in theater? Because I know he passed away, but he's just incredibly complex as Tony Soprano, like unbelievable. Like I'm just in awe of him as an actor.
I can second everything that you just said about him. He was an
Yeah.
amazing artist. He was
Mhm.
someone who went to the opera. He read poetry. I mean, he was a
Mhm.
well-versed actor. He didn't just study at Rutgers. He was an
Yeah.
artist. I did not have the opportunity to work with him, unfortunately. It's really interesting, though. I was on the set of Boardwalk Empire because I worked on Boardwalk Empire
Mhm.
in season 4, and I was on set, and that's an HBO show. And when
Mhm.
he died, most of the crew had worked with him.
Oh.
It was a heartbreaking moment to be
Mhm.
in that space. We were at Steiner Studios, and I'll never forget what happened to the room when they found out that he passed. He was an incredible artist. I did not ever meet him personally or get to see him work on stage, but I mean, The Sopranos are like, that's gold. That's acting gold. He was a genius. Yeah, and I love that that's someone who you're looking up to. Because he,
Yeah, because he had talked about. I was watching he was giving a talk, and he said, for the first year and a half, he couldn't cry in class, and he felt like he wasn't very good at what he was doing, and then this teacher gave him permission to just kind of let it out, and so we had a moment on set or during class where he actually broke a table, and he was yelling and screaming, and the teacher said, "You know what, James? You see, everything's okay. You're not in trouble." So that kind of stuck with me there.
absolutely. Which is, I think I've probably said that to Quentin, you, and Terrence a few times.
Mhm.
Okay, no one died, just a bit of
Yeah.
yeah.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the audience? You could drop it in the chat, come off mute. Oh, we have two questions from Michelle. What happens if we can't avoid missing a class or two? Is there an option to join virtually? And when are applications due for fall? Okay, that seems to be a question for me. But maybe Celestine can also talk about missing class. So, we're human beings and shit happens, and sometimes you need to miss a class because you're sick or a relative dies. We do have a very like clear attendance policy. It's even more clear now than it was in the past. And what we ask is that you do your best to be in class. Like you should be here because oh, sorry, I thought I heard maybe someone came off mute for a second. If you have to miss class, we're a small studio. So the biggest thing to me, for me and Kevin, is our operations manager, that's his title, is to communicate. And we can work it out with you. If you know ahead of time you're going to miss a class, tell us and we'll figure it out. We do have makeups. Celestine's done an abundance of makeups. And I think the most important thing is like do your best to be in class. You shouldn't be working like and acting while you're training. So if that's the reason you're missing class, unless it is like what does Terry always say? I can't remember the actor's name, but if like if you're asked to star in a film that you can't say no to, like we want that for you and we'll work with you, but be in the room because that's how you get the work done and also be there because you have a partner and they're depending on you. I don't know, Celestine, if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yes. I think that it's really important that we honor everyone's humanity in terms of life and life happens. At the same time, I think so communication is everything. So if something happens in your life and you need to miss a class, like we try to be as understanding as possible and we try to make it work with you. At the same time, I really want students to recognize the importance of an ensemble, right? And that even though each student is going on their own solo journey in the room, that each student's presence is also incredibly valuable. So when someone is missing, we feel it. We feel that you're not there. We feel that the ensemble is not complete. It does have an impact. You not being present has an impact on your partner, on the room, and on you because you're not able to gain the lesson for that day. The only way that this works is if you work it.
Mm.
And the only way for you to work it is if you're there. And so I think it's really important for students to think about what do they want to get out of this. And if what you want to get out of this is growth and you want to really be able to be the best actor you can be, then that means sometimes we have to sacrifice certain things. We have to go make choices, right? 2 years sounds like a long time, but it goes by so fast. And the last thing that you want to happen is for 2 years to go by and for you to leave the studio and go, wow, if only I had showed up more, if only I had done my best work. The only way for you to do your best work is to be present. So that's something that I'm really making sure that I share on the first day of class as well, because I think there is an idea that, well, there's makeup sessions available, but it's not the same thing. And it's not a substitute for being in class.
Yeah, thank you, Celestine. And then Michelle, you also asked if you can join virtually. We don't have that as an option. We do have an online intensive if you don't live in New York, but yeah, like Celestine says, being in the room is the most important thing. And then we're getting lots of questions. Okay, when are applications due for fall? It's a rolling admissions process, but if you want to be there on the first day, which technically we have orientation starting September 14th, and that's where you get to take every class. Like you get to take one of the movement, the voice, the Chekhov, the Alexander technique, the clown, which we haven't even talked about today, but we have a lot of offerings because this is a very holistic approach to training. And Terry always says, like, there's no fluff in this program. It's all really intentionally designed to make you the best actor you can be. And they all like kind of are pieces of a puzzle. And as much as you can take is great. And so a lot of people can't take everything. So we give you that opportunity to try everything out for like the kind of most foundational first class that week. So I'd say like September 10th would be a deadline if you want to guarantee like still there's still being a spot because the next few weeks are really big admissions enrollment weeks. But just talk to us if you want to if you're thinking of joining, just give us a call. Celestine, Catherine asks for Celestine, Quentin, or Terrence. What did you wish you knew walking in on day one about how to prepare as a human for this work? Oh, deep question. Anyone want to take a stab at it? Terrence or Quentin?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. Um, for me, personal experience, I think that the idea of being as open and receptive to a new point of view as possible is the best way to approach it. Um, like going through life, having up your guard, having this view of yourself, whether that be positive or negative, and having this authority figure kind of shine a light on who you are currently and show you where you can be and how much you can grow off of that. Sometimes it can feel extremely vulnerable because it's almost feeling like I'm not good enough, or you're saying that I'm not good enough, and that's not what it is. It's, hey, no, this is just this point of view. If you just try it on, see how that works, see how that fits. It's that is like it's like where that like the real humanity starts is like when you start, kind of stripping away all of these like preconceived notions of who you're supposed to be and trying on who you can be, like the fullest part of you. I think that's like something for me. I wish I would have came into it a lot more open, but I was so protected with the person who was teaching me that even if I didn't do that, Celestine was patient enough to like help guide me along the way and assure me that like no harm would come to me like for just exploring.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well said, Terrence. Anything you want to add, Quentin? It's okay if not.
Yeah, there was. I know this is something that Celestine you say a lot, or said a lot in our class, and I think that Terry says this as well. The idea of like running towards the cannons, and that like you want to. I don't like. I think that there is so much of this work that like especially as you get farther into it, it challenges you and can feel scary and uncomfortable and like you're like Terrence, you were saying, like it can feel really vulnerable at times. And I think that notion of like running towards the cannons and doing the thing that I'm like, oh, this is the thing that in the back of my mind, I know I'm scared to approach, but like this is the space to do it. I do feel like that was so valuable to me because I was just like, all right, I'm gonna regret not doing this and I don't want to feel that way. And like leaving no stone unturned. That was another thing that Celestine you would say all the time that is such an amazing opportunity in this work to really get to really learn about yourself as both a human and an actor and all of that stuff then like helps in so many ways moving forward in the work. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that little bit.
Thank you, Quentin and Terrence. Yeah, I mean, 2 years goes by like that. And you don't real I mean, I love that idea of leaving no stone unturned and running towards the cannon because if not now, then when, like this is the time to play and explore and try everything because when you're in, a when you're in a film or you're in a play, you will have more resources at your disposal if you've explored all those facets. If you were shy or didn't take any risks, you're going to come into that work and be like, "Oh wow, like I remember someone else did that in my class. I wish I tried that." So just do it all, like try it all. And I think that was both really great advice, Terrence and Quentin, for Catherine, who is joining us in a few weeks. And I see we have some questions from Demetrius and Jay. I'm going to call on Alex and then answer those questions because those are also great questions. Alex, if you want to come off mute and tell us your question.
Yeah, looking through the website and then being part of this Q&A that we're having. Am I to understand that like the basis for everything would be the Meisner technique, and then we then incorporate that into Shakespeare, mass work, and everything else through the program?
Yeah, so the core foundation of the training is Meisner, and then everything else we call like our core classes and our specialty classes, the movement work, the voice work, which is Williamson technique and Linklater technique. They're all about kind of connecting the dots, like in your instrument, and everything is good for you. Like it's all only there to make you better. But the kind of most foundational, like the tree trunk would be the Meisner technique. And so everybody would primarily take the Meisner technique, whether it be the intensive or the 2 year, and that could be part-time or conservatory. And then adding the other classes on, if you're able, is really valuable. I'd say especially movement and voice, because that is your instrument. That's we're not playing the piano. We literally are our instrument. So working on that as much as you can is what's going to sustain you and what's going to give you the most tools and resources to do this work as best as you personally can. Does that answer your question, Alex?
Yeah, yeah, perfectly. Thank you.
And then Jay, I know you have a question in the chat. Do you have another question? You're welcome to come off mute.
Oh, thank you so much. My the internet was a little choppy in the area I'm in, but I was primarily you spoke on the conservatory and the 2 year, and you spoke on the part time. I was just curious because in the chat, because I looked online, I did my research, and you can just go with the acting and add other things on, as you said, which is, I mean, amazing. The only thing I wanted to know about the 2 year was about the dates for it. If you did answer that, I'm sorry for asking you again. But with the 2 year program, could you could you pick all evening classes, or is that available as a viable option? I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
ask because I work during the day.
Totally, and a lot of people do. And when living in New York City is no joke. You have to survive capitalism. So we do
You
have
know?
you know, we have evening options for movement, voice, and acting, and then some of our specialty classes. So you couldn't be a complete student all in the evening, but you could definitely be a fundamental student, which is going to be the movement one, voice one, and the full 2 years of acting. So part-time acting is, and a part-time, we went back and forth of what this should be called. It probably shouldn't be called part-time. It should be called acting only because it is the same acting class as conservatory students. The difference between a part-time student and a conservatory student, and I don't even think part-time existed, Terrence and Quentin, when you guys were there. I think it started last year. The only difference is that a conservatory student is also taking, at the minimum, voice, movement, theater history, and script analysis. Theater history and script analysis is also available in the evening. So you could definitely do all of that in the evening and the fundamentals. I don't remember what bundle. Terrence and Quentin, were either of you fundamentals? That's like, yeah, Terrence, you were, right?
I was fundamentals for I think my first
Oh,
year, and then I had moved up to like in my second year.
Essentials. Okay, yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of students do that. You can add more. Um,
okay.
and you can also reduce if you're like, hey, I did complete and I am now like I don't have time to do my job and make money. Like you can go down a bundle. Like not in the middle of a semester, but we can work with you. It's very, like I said, there's a small studio intentionally so that we're able to really give students individualized attention and support and guidance. You'll have registration meetings with me between each semester, me or Kevin, to talk about your classes next semester. And you'll
Uh,
also hear notes from your teacher. Like Celestine has to do this every semester, like write notes about what classes she thinks would most benefit her students. So it's a very personalized journey, and like very few people are in the exact same classes. Like we want to make it as beneficial for you as possible. Does that answer your question, Jay?
okay, so I completely understand. It does because basically, well, not basically, I'm not trying to summarize, but you told me about the traditional path, and what it sounds like is I can primarily stick towards acting, and after a year, I can go into year two. and
Totally.
going over the same fundamentals and getting that fundamental acting. So I'm just making sure that because my focus point, of course, is acting, but the conservatory does focus on well-rounding the student, which I appreciate. But I was just double checking to see if the traditional program and the part-time gave me the same essentials I would get out of the 2 year conservatory, because I know I can't make myself
Yeah.
available for all of those like history and extracurricular.
Yeah, I mean, Terry has this great analogy of like a tomato plant, and I always butcher it when I say it in front of him. He's like, "That's not what it is." But we have a video, a selfie video on our YouTube of him talking about it. But like, if you take two tomato plants and you give one of them Miracle Grow and the other one just water, the Miracle Grow, which is what we say like our voice and our movement is, they're going to be juicier, richer, plumper tomatoes. And the one that doesn't have Miracle Grow will also have tomatoes, and they'll be great. But it's just about like enriching yourself and giving yourself as much as possible to grow. So we'll work with you and whatever you can take and whatever you have available in your personal resources, time, money, energy, like we'll figure out what's the best path for you. And I realize we're a little bit over time,
Thank
so I
you
want
so
to,
much.
of course, Jay, and you and I should talk. We should talk
Oh
more
no,
one-on-one. And I saw Demetrius also
I
asked
have
about
an interview coming
intensive.
up.
Oh, great, perfect. Demetrius asked about 2 year versus intensive. And I'd say really like if you are ready to fully run towards the cannons and ready to commit the time and energy of the 2 year program, which is you're really committing to the first year. And then if you're asked back to the second year and you are ready to recommit to the second year, then you would do that. But if you're ready to at least commit to the first year, I'd say do it. Like you should just run towards the cannons. But if you are not sure, or if you want to see if this program is for you, or this the technique, the Meisner technique is for you, I think the intensive is a great way to like dive in for a short amount of time. It's definitely not a toe dip in the water. Like it is a full dive. I see Terrence and Quentin going like this, but it's a shorter amount of time. So ultimately you're going to start from the beginning again when you go into the 2 years. So that's kind of like, if you know you're going to do it, just do it. But I think the intensive is also a great option for people who want to do a shorter program and just see what it's like for them. Okay. Those are all the questions I have. The last thing I want to say, and thank you for bearing with me, I know we're a couple of minutes over time, is we have a special offer for you guys because you came and you spent your Tuesday night with us. So very quickly before you take off, if you apply and interview and enroll by September 1st, we'll waive your $200 admin fee. So that's just for the people who are in this room. Sorry if you're watching this on YouTube later. You should have been here in person. And so I just added, because my Calendly books up like a week in advance, which is weird. I just added some times on this Friday. So if anyone here doesn't have a meeting yet and wants to meet with me and snag some of that, you can book a meeting with me now. Our amazing marketing director, Angelin, is going to drop that link in the chat. And I will stick around for 5 or 10 minutes if anyone has any other questions. But I hope to see you all in the room soon. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you again, Terrence and Quentin and Celestine, for your time and your words and your energy. And it was lovely to see and to meet and to hear from all of you. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Bye. I'll be here if anyone